Namaste and welcome. My name is Toni Minard and this is Subtle Power Yoga. Today's flow is going to be core centric. So we're going to fire up the core, kind of find exactly where the core is, and then try to use that core throughout the entire flow. My flows are power yogas as typically seen in power yoga hot classes, except take away the heat and slow it down a little bit for a little more mindful flow. So let's get started with a breathing exercise just to help us come into the moment and be mindful of the here and now. So come into a comfortable, easy pose, cross-legged typically, but it doesn't have to be. You might want to, if your knees are way up here and you feel kind of uncomfortable, you might want to sit up on a yoga block or a blanket just to kind of give yourself a little lift. You want to have a nice, tall, erect spine, but not overly stiff. Bring your hands to rest on your thighs, palms open. Close your eyes, just to remove some of the distractions. And just take a moment here to find your breath. That just means draw your attention to your breathing. Maybe for the first time today, just notice it. Don't force it. Don't try to control it. Just watch it as if you're watching a movie. Now you may notice that your breath has already slowed down simply by drawing your attention to it. You can stay here with these deep, slow breaths. Or you can start to extend the exhale just a little bit longer than the inhale. If that makes you anxious, just continue with a more even breath. Otherwise, continue with extended exhale for a few more rounds. On your next inhale, go a little bit deeper. And then exhale through the mouth with a cascading breath. Opening your eyes. And just noticing if you feel any different. Maybe a little bit calmer. And then let's come on to tabletop position, hands and knees. We're going to bring our knees right underneath our hips. Wrists right underneath the shoulders. I want you to spread your fingers as wide as you can. Every finger is as wide of a spread as you can, except for the thumb and the pointer. They're not quite as wide. And then really press your knuckles, the upper knuckles and the base knuckles near the palms, into the mat. The arches of your palms may slightly lift. It's almost like a tree frog position is what I like to think of. Your elbow creases are drawing towards the front of your mat, which is giving you an external rotation of the shoulder. And the knees are right under the hips, hip distance.
You can tuck your toes here. That will go ahead and start to stretch your arches. And then we're going to start to vinyasa. That just means connect breath to movement. So on the inhale, we're going to go into a cow breath. And then on the exhale, we're going to go into a cat's breath, like an angry cat, rounding the back, tucking the pelvis. Inhale, bringing the heart forward. And exhale, rounding and tucking. Now just go with your own flow of your own breath for a few rounds, warming up the lower back. Making this as subtle or dynamic as you'd like. This is your yoga flow, so make it your own. One more round. And then we're going to come up with our toes still tucked. We're going to stretch out the arches, the plantar fascia. So you can stay up here, and then you can always bring something under your knees if this hurts your knees. Grab a towel, or you can sit down. This is pretty intense for some. And just to start to open up the shoulders, we're going to bring our hands interlaced, and we're going to inhale the palms forward and up, and exhale, release. Let's do that again. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Release back into tabletop. Tap out those toes. Woo. Good. That will prevent foot cramping, and it's just a really good stretch for the feet. So we're going to continue with some tabletop positions. If you find that your wrists are hurting, you can go onto fists. I do find that more men prefer that over women. I don't know if it's just our anatomy. You could always come onto your forearms like this. Or one of my favorites is to grab a pair of 5-pound hand weights, the ones that are square, and you use them like handles. So if you do have wrist problems, you might want to invest in some of those. But let's go ahead and just do a few wrist circles to kind of stretch the wrists and get them ready. Shake out those wrists, come back into tabletop position. The thing that will mostly really help with the wrists is that if you really concentrating on pressing into the base knuckle of the pointer and the thumb, and not the pinky side of your wrist, because that's going to take a lot of pressure off of your wrist by leaning in towards the pointer and thumb. So our knees are comfortable. You might need a towel here. And we're going to draw that navel back. So just scoop it back towards the spine. That's going to protect your spine. Bring the right arm forward and the left leg back. This is called bird dog. So you can just stay here. Maybe you lift the foot up if it doesn't hurt your lower back. And let's take 3 breaths. We're going to be counting our breaths throughout this practice. You can exhale through the nose for more heat or through the mouth. Now on your exhale, we're going to crunch in elbow to knee. Inhale, reach. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, reach. We have 3 more. 3. With your breath. 4. 5. Release. Shake out that left wrist. And then wag the tail. Bring your hips in one direction, head in the other. And then let's come back into tabletop. This time we're going to bring the left arm forward, right leg back for bird dog. Find your bird dog. It'll look different for everybody. Navel's back and your neck is relaxed. Reach through those left fingertips, reach through that right heel. One more breath. And on your next exhale, knee to elbow. 3, 4, 5, and release. Shake out that right wrist, and the tail. So what we're doing here is we're firing up the core, bringing our attention to the core. So this could be a core-centric flow, which really all of yoga is core-centric. Let's bring our knees as wide as the mat, toes touching. And then we're gonna lower down into child's pose. So some of you might wanna stack your hands. You can use a pillow here, or you can reach your hands towards the top of your mat. Bring your forehead to the mat. And let's just take some deep breaths. This time I want you to think about breathing all the way into the belly, filling it up like a balloon. And then when you exhale, maybe exhale just a little longer, releasing every bit of air out. 2 more breaths. One more breath. And then come back into tabletop position. Take a moment to really set those hands up correctly. You're going to prevent a lot of wrist damage that way. And then walk the hands forward just a little bit. Spread the fingers, open those shoulders. Heart comes forward, heart comes forward. Tuck the toes, downward dog. Just an upside down V. Now anytime we're in downward dog, you can always you have the option to take child's pose. Yogi's choice. I'll leave that up to you. You can go ahead and walk your dog. That just means you bring one heel to the earth and then the other. And what that's going to do is open up the calves and the hamstrings. My hands are almost pushing the mat away. Shoulders are drawing away from the ears. We don't want to scrunch our shoulders. And navel is actively drawing back towards the spine. So even here we're getting some core. And then find some stillness. Some of you might want to walk your feet wider if you have tight hamstrings. I notice a lot of runners need to do this. You can bend the knees, bringing those hips up high, and you can just stay here. Or you can start to bring the heels towards the mat. They don't have to touch. And then just let your neck be relaxed. And we're going to walk to the top. So on the inhale, lift the heels. We're going to scoop the belly out and start to step to the top of the mat. Coming into a forward fold, but bend those knees, especially for this first forward fold. Really bend the knees, let your neck hang here. My chest is resting on my thighs, but the weight's coming back towards the heels. Now you can just hang here, release the neck. You can ragdoll by folding the arms. Then we're gonna take some half lifts. So on the inhale, we slide the hands up the shin as much as we need to come into a straight back. And then we're gonna exhale, folding it again. Bend the knees, not the back, guys. We don't wanna hurt our back. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. It's not about touching your toes. Inhale, half lift. It's about what you feel in your body, and it should feel good. Maybe comfortably uncomfortable, but not painful. And then we're going to really root down through those feet and start to slowly roll up. Scoop that belly out. The last thing to come up is your head. And you go ahead and step to the top of your mat. I'm going to turn sideways. We're going to bring our hands to our shoulders and we're going to start to roll the shoulders forward. And again, we're going to count the breaths. 2 and 3. And let's reverse that. 1, 2, and 3. That one should feel really good. And we're going to take a moment to find mountain pose. So bring your feet about hip distance. Some people actually like to bring their feet closer in. Spread your toes. And when you do this, you're going to find what I call the tripod of the foot. And that's the big toe mound, little toe mound, and the heel. So just imagine it like a tripod. And as you spread the toes, you'll press through the tripod of each foot. The inner arches will start to lift, kind of like what we were doing with our hands in downward dog. And then we just want to line up ankles to knees, to hips, to shoulders, to ears. So take a moment to do that. So a lot of us are going to need to draw that tailbone down. Bring the shoulders down and back. And then instead of lifting your head up, keep your chin straight. Gently draw that chin back till the ears are over the shoulders. You can look in a mirror and just check it. And at the same time, we're gently drawing our navel back towards our spine. This is called Uddiyana Bandha in yoga. And just imagine your navel reaching back to tuck into the spine. But at the same time, the top of the belly is soft and we're breathing smoothly. We're going to start with our sun salutation A. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, fold forward. And again, if you need to, bend the knees. We want to have a straight back. Release. And then we're going to come up into that halfway lift. And then we're going to fold. Feet are on railroad tracks. Slide the right leg back. This time we're going to come into runner's lunge today. So bring this left knee right over the ankle. Remember, don't pronate. Bring it right over the ankle and press actively through that right back heel. Feel that stretch coming into this hip flexor. And now we're just going to take a few dynamic movements here. We're going to inhale and we're going to exhale. Straighten the leg, bring your head towards your knee. Inhale, bring your heart forward as you bend the knee. Feel that stretch in that right hip flexor. Exhale, round. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. Draw that navel back towards the spine. Inhale, open. And then we're going to come into plank. So some of you will come into a full plank on your toes. A lot of us are going to come onto our knees, especially for this first one. My shoulders are not back here. They're right over the wrists. My navel is scooping back. My shoulders are over the wrists and I'm slightly rounding the shoulders. Push into the mat. Good. And now we're going to chaturanga down, yogi push-up. The most important thing is that you don't sink your butt first and that your your elbows are going to brush against your ribs. So tuck those elbows in, lead with the chest all the way down. Find your toenails connecting to the mat. Take a moment to find the pubic bone. Very important. Bring the hands under the shoulders. Relax your neck. We're going to take baby cobra. So on baby cobra, you just lift the heart forward and up without any pinching in the lower back. And you can keep your hands in the mat or hover them, bringing the shoulder blades together. This should not hurt the neck or the lower back. Take another breath here. And you're pulling forward as much as you're pulling up. And then exhale, coming down. We're going to go back into downward dog. So I like to kind of go towards child's pose and then lift up into downward dog, but that's yogi's choice. Release your neck, find your downward dog. Shoulders are always drawing away from the ears. Broadening the shoulders, drawing the navel back and breathing. And on the inhale, lift the heels, scoop the belly out. You might need to take your hand here to bring that right foot between the hands. So we're in a runner's lunge on the other side. Watch this knee, don't let it pronate forward. And let's inhale, heart forward. Exhale, round. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Press through that back heel. Exhale. Inhale, and we're going to step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Now we're either going to round up or swan dive up. Really actively press through the tripod of the foot and come up, hands to heart center. Our first vinyasa is finished. We're going to now continue. Any part of those vinyasas, that little series, you can skip. You can skip chaturanga. You can skip cobra. Yogi's choice. Now we're going to take sun salutation B. Inhale, arms up. Maybe the heart starts to lift up. Maybe the chin that doesn't pinch your back. And exhale, swan dive down or roll down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. come into a chair squat. So really root down through the tripod of the foot. Bring that butt back so that the weight comes into the heels. And then come up. I want you to imagine that you're squeezing a lock between the thighs. And your hands can either be namaste. They can be out in front. Maybe keeping a little bend in the elbow to keep the shoulders soft. Or if you have the ability to bring them up. The important thing is that my knees are staying pretty much in line with the heels. They're not going to the toes. And the weight's coming back into the body. And let's take a few breaths here. You can do whatever you need with your hands. Adjust until your lower back feels no discomfort and breathe. We want to be comfortably uncomfortable here, but not in the back, not in the neck, not in the knees. We want to keep those free of discomfort. And one more breath. And then we're going to exhale, fold forward. Let out a sigh. Ha! You'd be surprised how healing and restorative that is. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bring your feet onto railroad tracks. Very important that there's space between them, at least 2/5. And we're going to keep that space as we bring the right leg back, like we're going into a runner's lunge, but we're going to come up into a high lunge or a crescent pose. Draw that tailbone down, navel back. Check in with your left knee. It's not pronating past towards the toes. Option to lift the right arm. Keep a bend in the elbow, maybe the right, but any hand position is fine. If you want to straighten that back leg, press through the heel. Lift the heart forward and up. You can also have your hands on your hips. Let's just hold this crescent pose for 2 more breaths. Go ahead and count them. 1. 2. Inhale, let's come up slightly. And we're going to exhale, twist to the left. Watch this knee. Don't let it go past the ankle. The kneecap squeezing towards the baby toe. Twist. Maybe looking back towards your left hand. Coming back into the center. We're going to fold forward. And you're going to come into your plank. Take knees if you'd like. You might be here for a long time to build up that upper body strength. Or maybe press through the heels. Coming onto your toes, scoop the belly out. And then we're going to chaturanga. Elbows brush against the ribs, either halfway or all the way. And then we're going to come into our cobra. Either baby cobra, high cobra, or up dog, knees lifting, but no pinching in the lower back. Exhale back into downward dog, or take child's pose for 3 breaths. Count your breaths. Make them slow, long, and deep. Your shoulders are away from the ears. Scoop that navel back towards the spine. Lift your heels. Bring that right foot between the hands. There's space between the feet. Railroad tracks coming up into high lunge on the other side. Tailbone draws down. Maybe the left arm lifts. Maybe the right. And let's take 3 breaths here. We're going to inhale, coming up. We're going to exhale, twist to the right, looking over towards that right hand if it doesn't hurt your neck. Coming back into the center. We're going to exhale, fold forward, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. We're coming up into chair squat. Imagine you're squeezing your inner thighs together. Stick that butt back. Come into your chair squat. And we're going to come up super slow. So we're going to take 1 breath. 2 breaths. Bring the weight back into the heels. 3 breaths. We've got 2 more. 4. And 5. Reaching all the way up into volcano. and release into mountain. And shake it out. Good. Whew. Your heart should be pumping. You feel the blood flowing. We don't have to go super fast to really get a good workout. Sometimes mindful and slow is a little more intense. Inhale, lift the heart forward. Exhale, fold forward. One more sun salutation B. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Come into that chair squat. Exhale, fold. Feet are on railroad tracks. Slide the right leg back. Warrior one. So that means the right heel goes into the earth. Space between the feet. Come up. Tailbone down. Knee over the ankle or behind it. Squeeze the kneecap towards the baby toe. We're going to interlace the hands behind the back, or simply bring your hands to your glutes, or interlace. Lift that heart forward. And we're going to fold just halfway today. Draw your navel back towards the spine. Breathe. 2. One more breath. Coming up. Bring your hands to your hips. Lift your heart forward. Lift that right arm forward. Lift that left arm. Fold forward. Come into your plank, knees or toes. Your chaturanga. Brushing the elbows against the side, halfway or all the way. And then your back bend, either baby cobra, high cobra, or up dog. But no compression in the spine. Exhale back to downward dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. You can take child's pose. Neck is soft. Let's take 2 more breaths actually. Get that breath back down. Smooth. And on the inhale, we're going to lift the left leg this time for 3-legged dog. Try not to open the hips. Try to keep the hips straight. Spread the toes, and release. 3-legged dog on the other side. Lift that right leg. Spread the toes. Bring that right foot between your hands. Either use your hand or step it forward. Left heel in the mat. Railroad tracks coming up into warrior one. Tailbone draws down. Line up that right knee. Squeeze the kneecap towards the baby toe. And let's bring our hands to our glutes to open the heart. Or you can have your hands like out to the side or interlace. And let's fold for 3 breaths. Count them out. Coming back up. Left arm reaches, right arm reaches. Fold forward. Take a chaturanga here if you'd like, or step to the top of the mat, yogi's choice. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Let's come into our last chair squat. This time we're going to do some chair lifts. So we're going to act like we're getting up, and then we're going to sit back down and someone takes that chair away. Inhale, we're getting up. Exhale, someone takes that chair away. 8 more. You can swing the arms. You can let that breath out through your mouth. Two more. Feel it in the glutes and the butt, not in the knees. And then come all the way up into volcano and release. And shake it out. So let's come long on the mat, long ways with our feet wide. Feet are about 3 or 4 feet apart. We're going to take warrior 2. I'm going to mirror you. So bring your right toes to the top of the mat. Back toes come in. You're on a balance beam. And you're between 2 sheets of glass. Nothing sticking out. Bend that right knee right over the ankle. And bring your torso to face me. Arms out to the side, palms up. And then leave those elbow creases open towards the sky and just flip the palms down. Reach through the fingers. You can look over at your right hand for warrior two. Remember the navel drawing back towards the spine. And breathe. Press through the pinky toe side of the right foot. Watch your left knee. Shoulders away from the ears. We're going to go into triangle. Straighten that front knee without locking it. Lean towards the top of your mat. And then plant this right hand anywhere. Anywhere. Top hand comes to the ceiling. This is triangle pose. You can look wherever. Ever you'd like to. Navel towards the spine. You're between two sheets of glass. Neck is not straight. Now let's use that core to come up. Scoot that navel back, come up. Turn your toes so they're both sets of toes are facing the long end of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips. Let's come into a nice little heart lift, bringing the hips forward. And then we're going to bring our hands to our hips, and we're going to bring those hips back as we fold. You can bend the knees. You can bring your hands wherever. Let your neck hang. Maybe your hands come to the floor. Let's inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, fold it in again. Let's do that again. Inhale, half lift. Again, you can bend the knees here. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And we're going to come up. Before we do, we want to come up with a straight back, so you can walk your feet in. You can bend your knees. Bring your hands to your hips. Push down on that buttocks flush. Come up with a straight back. Let's take the same sequence on the other side. Left toes towards the top of the mat. Back toes coming in. Warrior two. Knee is right over the ankle. Elbows open. And breathe. Let's count about 5 breaths here. Navel drawing back towards the spine. Left knee going towards the left pinky toe. And pressing through the pinky toe side of the right foot. And we're going to take triangle, straighten that front knee, but don't lock it. Lean towards the top of your mat and plant that hand wherever. Coming in like an anchor with that bottom hand, lifting up towards the ceiling with the top hand. Triangle. And again, you can look wherever. Navel drawing back towards the spine. And count 3 more breaths. Use that core, draw it back, use that top arm to come up. Come into that wide-legged stand again. Actually, let's step it in and shake it out just for a moment. And then we'll come back into that wide-legged stand. And we're gonna fold forward again. This time we're gonna go a little deeper, maybe not. You can even have a block here. You can bring your toes pigeon-toed if you like to go deeper. And then we're going to release and just hang here, or walk your hands back between your feet and kind of press into the earth to bring the crown of the head towards the floor or a block. Feel a deep stretch in the backs of the legs, opening up. Navel is still drawing back towards your spine, Uddiyana Bandha. And we're also going to be drawing in our pelvic floor muscles, which is called Mula Bandha. And I want you just to imagine that you're holding in or stopping the flow of urine. I know it sounds weird, but it's an actual exercise for the pelvic floor muscles. And then we're going to inhale, coming up halfway. Maybe walk the feet in, hands to your hips, come up with a straight back. Step it in, shake it out. Loosen the joints up. Sometimes we get overly stiff in our yoga practice. Good, and now we're going to come into a balance. We did tree pose last week. This week, we are going to do dancer pose. So a lot of us are gonna come over to a wall. And I always say better to be safe than sorry, especially the first time. You might as well try it. I also like to step off my mat. Finding a floor just kind of creates a little more stability. So I'm going to mirror you. We're going to bring the weight onto the right foot. We're going to bend the left knee, and you're just going to grab the front of the foot or the ankle. So you see, you might need to grab onto a wall here. Find your balance. Find something to look at in front of you that's not moving. It's called your dristi in yoga. And then you can just have that hand against the wall. Start to bring the heart forward and up, and then press the back foot into your hand. There should be no compression in the lower spine. Find your spot to look at. Try to take about 4 breaths. Now let's come out very slow, very cautiously, and shake it out. We want to use as much mindfulness coming out of the poses as we do going into them, because most injuries in yoga happen coming out of a pose because we're not as mindful. And now again, you can find a wall for the other side. This time we're going to bring the weight into the left foot, and we're going to grab the front of the right foot. I'm mirroring you. Maybe your hand is on the wall, maybe not. Bring that heart forward and up, but no compression in the lower spine. Press that back foot into the hand. You can also slightly bend the knee of the standing foot, the standing leg. That will actually help with your balance. Look at your dristi in just a focal point and take 4 breaths. We're going to slowly release and shake it out. Whew. Maybe a little rebounding here. And now we're going to come into a yogi squat. I don't have my block down here, but if you sit a lot at your job, you might find yogi squat really difficult at first, but don't worry. Over time, you will open up and it will come. Don't force it. You can hurt your hips. So for yogi squat, if you have a block, you want to take the longest level and kind of place it back behind you so you can sit on it. Bring your feet just a little wider than hip distance, toes out. And we're going to stick the butt out, but we still want to watch the knees. Try not to bring those knees forward too much. My feet are a little too wide. And we're just going to squat down. You might be like this. Some of you are going to come down, but your heels are going to be lifted. You can also sit on that block. And then try to keep the heart open. I like to use my elbows. Look at a spot in front of you. Just try to take 3 breaths here. And this is a good time to practice your Mula Bandha, holding in the flow of urine, strengthening the pelvic floor muscles. Navel drawing back towards your spine. 1 more breath. And then we're going to practice our crow here. This is optional. So from your yogi squat, you're going to bring your hands on the floor about a foot in front of your feet. Spread the fingers. You're going to lift up. Maybe your heels kind of come in, your toes out. Now a lot of us are just going to stay here today. We're going to scoop the belly out. We're going to round the back, working the core. Some of us are going to bend the knees and bring them behind the backs of the arms or the armpits. And then maybe start to lean forward, but don't look down. Look forward. Look forward. Maybe you just stay here. Scoop the belly out. Maybe you can have a pillow in front of you. I should have told you that ahead of time. Maybe you lift one toe. Maybe you lift both. This can take a long time to build up to. Requires a lot of upper body and, believe it or not, core strength. Come back into that yogi squat, and let's just release down onto our bottoms. Go ahead and hug your knees in, nice hug. Maybe rock side to side. Let out a few cleansing breaths with a sigh. That's very healing. Letting your emotions out with that sound is very good for the body and the mind. Good. And now we're going to work on some more core. We've been working on the core the entire time as we've been working on that Uddiyana Bandha, navel towards the spine. But we're going to work more specifically on the core now. So let's roll down onto our backs. Try to go slow using your core. So we're already working the core even as we're setting up. Take a nice stretch when you get down here. You can interlace the hands, point the toes, and then hug in the knees. Nice roll here side to side. Before we get started, if your chin is up like this, get a pillow and place it under your head and your neck. A lot of people like to place a blanket or a towel under your lower back. The good thing about video is you can pause it. And we're going to start with some pelvic tilts, which is basically Uddiyana Bandha. So here we go again. We're going to bring our elbows to the floor like robot arms. Heels are on the floor. And on the inhale, you're going to arch your back and bring your belly up. And then on the exhale, you're going to bring the lower back into the earth. And do you see how my butt slightly lifts up? Inhale, arching and opening. Exhale, tucking that navel back. Now we want to try to keep this position here, navel towards the spine, lower back into the mat. If you have a hard time doing that, you're going to probably hurt your back, so I want you to place a towel underneath your lower back. We're going to lift our knees up, but try to not bring them in. Try to keep them over the hips, which will go into the lower core, which is what we're really working today. We're going to either leave our neck down, our head down, or support your neck like a hammock. Don't push it, just support it. And we're going to crunch it up. And then we're going to go down. Inhale down. Exhale, crunch. Keep the knees over the hips. Exhale down. Inhale. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused with the exhale and inhale. Good. And now we're going to do a little twist here. So we're going to straighten the right leg. We're going to lift up and then bring that right leg over to the left side. Inhale into center. Exhale to the other side. You can bring your head back down in between, or you can leave your chest up. Twist to the left side. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist to the right. Keep your neck supported. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. We've got two more. Center and twist. Center and twist. Now you can take a break here, lay your head down. You can continue with what we've been doing, or a more advanced is just straighten the legs. If this hurts your back, please bend them. And we're gonna twist and scissor the legs. Inhale, exhale, twist. Inhale, exhale, twist. Inhale, exhale, twist. We've got three more on each side. You can do it as long as your lower back is not hurting. Remember that the mind is usually ready to quit before the body. So see if you've got one more in you. One more on each side. Again, if the lower back hurts, bend the knees or take a break. Back into the center. And now we're going to bring the legs wide so you can keep your neck supported. And we're going to exhale, reach into the center and back down. And reach into the center. Spread your toes so that your feet are active. Flexing those leg muscles. Reach. And reach. Two more on each side. Reach. Remember, the minds are ready to quit before the body. Reach. One more. Reach. One more. Reach. Good. Now we're going to bend the knees. Maybe bring the feet towards the ceiling. And you can just crunch up and down 5 times. If it doesn't hurt your neck, reach. Again, don't hurt your neck. 3, 4, let that heat out of your mouth. 5, we're not done yet, but we're almost done. Bring the knees over the hips, bring your arms out to the side, and then we're gonna twist both knees to the right, hover. Use the core to suck it back into the center and exhale, twist. Use the core and twist. Use the core, twist. 2 more on each side. Twist, you got it. Twist, we're not just rocking, we're hovering, we're using the core. Don't just rock, don't use momentum. That's why slower is better. Back into the center, almost done. Bring the feet to the floor. We're gonna do something called 30, 60, 90. So we want to really connect the back to the floor for this one. Grab a blanket, or my favorite is to place the hands underneath the glutes, kind of lifting the hips. And you can just do bent legs here, and just you're going to come into the center, knees over hips, lower about 30%, a little bit more, and then hover before bringing it back in. Or if it does not hurt your back, very important, because then you're not getting any core work if your back's hurting. We're gonna exhale 30%. And then another 30%, which is 60%. And then about 90% hovering, or until you start to hurt your back and back in. Let's do 2 more. Exhale and release and release. Don't let your back hurt. Keep the knees bent. 1 more. Good. Release your hands, hug your knees in, and rock it out. You did good. We are cooling down now here. So we're gonna bring our left foot to the floor. We're gonna straighten that right leg up towards the sky. I like to flex my toe. That just means the opposite of point. Okay, bring the toes in towards the shin. And then grab behind the thigh. Again, you don't want your neck like this. You want to have a straight neck, so you could use a pillow here. Some of us are going to want to straighten the left leg, but again, flex the foot on that left leg so that left leg is strong. Some of you can grab behind the calf, but you don't want to be straightening up like this. You can also use a strap here. We're going to take half happy baby. So we're going to start to bend the knee, bringing it down, bringing the thigh down. The foot wants to walk on the ceiling. Grab the outside of the foot and just come into half happy baby. Starting to cool down. And let out a sigh. And just let your breath flow naturally. Good, now we're going to come into thread the needle or pigeon. So I do want to bend this left knee. We're going to place this right ankle on top of the left thigh, right by the knee. So the neck is long, chin is ever so slightly tucked. And then just see if you can lift that left foot up. Flex both feet, very important. That's going to protect your knees. Flex both feet, toes towards the shin. And then you just thread your hands around the left thigh. Maybe you hug it in a little deeper. Just breathe naturally and freely. Letting that heat that you've built up out of your mouth. We're going to take a supine twist over to the left. So bring both hands either out like wings or goalposts. Bring that left foot back to the floor. So you can keep this pigeon, or you can cross your leg, or you can even bring your feet wide. We're just going to bring the knees over to the left side. Try to keep this right shoulder blade down. So you might want to take a blanket or something to prop. I like to start to release my neck at this point, gently rocking it. If you want to go deeper into that outer hip stretch, take your left hand and gently press that thigh away from you. Then come back into the center. Let's just hug in that right knee for a moment. Go ahead and release that right ankle. Press your thigh into your chest, into your body, into the organs. This is good for your digestion and release. Now let's take it to the other side. Reestablishing my neck so that my chin is ever so slightly tucked. Straightening this left foot towards the ceiling, flexing the toes, grabbing wherever. If it feels good here, straighten that right leg, but keep that right leg active and flexed. Lots of options here. Let your body open up at its own pace. Don't force it. And just breathe naturally. We're going to go into that half happy baby. Gently bring that thigh down towards the floor, foot towards the ceiling, grabbing the outside of the foot. If you can't grab the outside of the foot, just grab wherever. It's not about what you look like, it's what you feel. And you should just feel a nice, good stretch here. We're going to start to come back into the center. We're going to bend that right knee. And we're going to come into that thread the needle pigeon, opening the hip up, flexing the foot, very important, and then threading your hands around the thigh. Both feet are flexed. Adjust any way you need to so that your knees don't hurt. You can even have this right foot pressing into a wall if you can't reach behind your thighs. Sometimes that might just be because your arms are short. Maybe you hug your knee in deeper if you want to go deeper into this hip stretch. And this pose, by the way, is really good for sciatica, as it releases the piriformis muscle. And we're going to take that supine twist. So you can either stay in pigeon, cross the knees, or separate the knees coming over to the right side. Keep that left shoulder blade down. Let that breath flow. Let's come back into the center, hug that left knee in, release your left ankle. Squeeze the thigh into the body and release. Bring your feet as wide as the mat and then just windshield wiper back and forth. And so I'm going to give you an option or a few options here for your final resting pose, Shavasana. You can just bring your knees together, feet wide, arms out. But for today, since I want to show you legs up the wall and the many different variations of that. So one variation is to just simply bring your feet out, let them hang. And what this is going to do is it's going, whenever your feet are above the heart, it activates the parasympathetic system, rest and digest. And when we're under a lot of stress, which most of us are just day to day, this will be restorative and healing to the lymphatic system. So you can just kind of bring your feet up. This also builds resistance in the nervous system, so you can better handle stress. Another option is to scoot over to a wall and simply bring the legs up the wall, like so. You want your butt, so I'm gonna kind of scoot it in till the butt's against the wall. And then you just bring your legs up in and out. They don't have to be straight. This is so restorative. I highly recommend this. I'm gonna do this myself. The other option is to bring the chair seat up to the backs of your knees and bring your feet onto the chair. So let's just relax here. Let everything soften. The face has no expression on it whatsoever. Teeth are slightly parting. The tongue is releasing from the roof of your mouth towards the chin. Your hands are soft, arms are heavy, knees are soft, belly is soft. And let's just notice the breath like we did in the beginning. And just watch your breath for the next few minutes. Starting to move the fingers and the toes. Moving the wrists and the ankles. And then bending the knees. Maybe pushing away from the wall and rolling onto your favorite side. Resting your head on your arm. Just for another moment here, pause. And then making your way back up to a comfortable seated position. Eyes are still closed, palms open towards the sky. Just pause. Notice the way your body feels. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice the condition of your mind. And then inhale your arms overhead, bringing the palms together. Down the center line of your body, resting your hands at heart center. We bow, honoring each other. Namaste and thank you.